Welcome back, everyone. I hope you guys, everybody enjoyed that session with some of the executives. You can feel free to get up and do some stretches. I know you guys have been sitting for a while, so if you want to do some sit-ups, some push-ups, some jumping jacks, feel free to go ahead and do that. But an exciting next speaker, Dr. Murtaza Haider, who is an author, columnist, and professor of data science and real estate management at Ryerson University. He is currently a data consultant for Zolo. Having consulted on the economics of cities and regions for over 20 years, Dr. Haider combines his academic background with extensive practical experience and has emerged as a preeminent thought leader in the real estate and data space. Please give a warm welcome to Dr. Haider.
Thank you, Mustafa. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I am truly grateful to be able to talk to the very people who run the real estate industry, whose efforts make it happen. So I'm very pleased to be here. This is an opportunity to present some of the work that we have done. So what I have for you today is a series of slides. You can't get a professor without a PowerPoint. So I have a few slides that I want to share with you, some of the work that we do. And then I'm also monitoring your comments. So I'm hoping that you will put some comments there, and I will be very willing and ready and keen to answer your questions. So I'm going to share my slides with you, and I'm hoping that you can now see my slides in, say, 1, 2, 3, that you can see my slides, right? And if you can, somebody say type yes, we can see it, and then I can continue. So essentially, I'm telling you a story about real estate insights, not from the Department of Real Estate, but from a Department of Obvious Conclusions. So my plan for today is the following. So let's continue. The agenda that I want to follow is that I'm going to give you a very brief introduction, and then I'm going to tell you the story about why Department of Obvious Conclusions. And then I'm going to tell you this Harry met Sally story of when data met analytics, and what can happen when data and analytics merge. What does it mean for real estate? What does it mean for brokers and real estate agents? And then some questions about valuation that I'm going to ask you, and then some answers that we have prepared and found over the years. So a brief introduction. I'm a professor, as I said. I'm also a director of the Urban Analytics Institute at Ryerson University. We take data and then we analyze it and find answers to what concerns cities, what concerns real estate, and what concerns urban transportation. I'm very pleased with the opportunity to advise and consult with Zolo on all things data. I'm also an author, and I'm also a columnist. I write for newspaper, which is Post Media and National Post. So in fact, if you were to open today's National Post, you will see my weekly column there. I write a column with a realtor, Stephen Moranis, and I have been writing this since November. And this week, we actually look at why CMHC's housing forecast of a 9 to 18% decline, what were the motivations behind it, and why that forecast lasted so long, and why there was not an update. And if you want to know a thing or two about that forecasting, and particularly that particular forecast, which was very helpful, I must say, in April and May, but why it stayed that way, you can read about it. So I write every week on Thursday or Friday. You will see Stephen and I in National Post, especially in the Financial Post pages. And if you're not in Toronto, you can also find us in Vancouver Sun, Calgary Herald, sometimes in Ottawa Citizen and Montreal Gazette. On the right side of the screen, you see the book Getting Started with Data Science that IBM published. It was a collaboration with IBM that I worked with them for a year, and then IBM and Pearson published this. This is my way of showing how data and analytics should be done. So what about the Department of Obvious Conclusions? I'll take you back to 1997, 98, perhaps 1999 earlier. I had spent 3 years analyzing real estate market data. I got a big chunk of data that I'm going to talk about later from the real estate board, and I analyzed and I came up with a model and forecasted the property values. My wife at that decided that, it's a big day. I'm going to defend my thesis. So she drove me to the university. And she said, it's a big day. You have, it's your thesis defense. So as she was driving, she asked me this question. So what did you find? And I was quickly going through my papers, preparing my slides, and in my head, I'm getting the whole story correct. And she said, "So what did you find? What is your thesis statement?" And I said, "Well, I found that bigger homes sell for more." And I'm not joking. She stopped the car right then and there on Eglinton, heading towards DVP. She stopped the car. She said, "Wait a second. You're going to get a master's for this? I could have told you that bigger homes sell for more." And then I realized, like I should have added the nuance to that. I said, "No, hold on. There's much more to it. It's not that just bigger homes sell for more. I can tell a lot more about it." So here's the story. This whole thing about analyzing and forecasting and looking at this all started in 1996. I was very fortunate that the Toronto Real Estate Board shared with me about 500,000 sales data, which I analyzed over a 3-year period. This is before geographic information system. This is before big data. This is before all of these softwares that I use, and it makes so easy to analyze data now. But at that time, I had to geocode, find the X and Y coordinates, the longitude and latitude for all the 500,000 observations, clean the data. It took me 3 years of my life. And then I concluded that bigger homes sell for more. So anyhow, so what's the real story? Here's the real story. I'm going to tell you a few things from that data set. So this is data set from 1995 sales. And here you go. The question is, now you as a realtor, someone who's interested in real estate markets, my question is, all else being equal, if nothing else matters, but there's only one choice you have to make, that you have a client and the client is asking you this question: I want to improve my house and I'm going to list it after I've done the improvement. What will get me more for the housing? What can I do to my house? I can add a bedroom or I can add a washroom. Which of these two interventions would get me more money? Now, that's a good question. So I'm going to give you a second to think about it. Use the chat. Tell me which one do you think will get you more money? Either adding a bedroom, you can do both. You have a choice. The client wants to know, what can they do to their house to get more money before they sell it? So if you have time, just let me know. Somebody says kitchen update. Absolutely, kitchen update. But now is the time. Maybe in 1995, now we are skipping the dishes. We are skipping the ovens. Nobody's cooking. So I don't know. But somebody says bathroom. It's the most common question, Jennifer says, being asked. Well, thank you. Well, let's go. Is it bedroom? No. Here's the thing. So we estimated a model with about 30,000 housing sales, and we found out that an additional washroom adds 9% to the price of a low-rise housing in 1995. I can show you recent results later, but that's the thing. And if you add a new bedroom, additional bedroom, that adds 5.5% to the value. So it turns out that people really, really, really like those showers. I mean, so if you think about it, the data tells us. Now, if we look at it and we say, if there are two homes identical, one has an additional washroom, again, same interpretation, that house may sell for 9.5%, almost 9% higher, or the valuation, not sell it. Valuation could be 9% higher. Okay, so having said this, here's another question. And this is with the recent data set. How much is a locker worth in a condo in downtown Toronto? Right. So you know that sometimes you have a condominium with a locker, sometimes without a locker, sometimes a condo with a parking spot, without a parking spot. So what is the dollar value? If you were to analyze it, you run the analytics, what we call the econometrics or hedonic price modeling. What do you get for an additional, what is the value for the locker? So I'm looking at, somebody says $5,000, somebody says $70,000, and somebody said 8,000. It's a good question to see. So what we did, we said, okay, we will analyze data. We got all sales from January 2016 to December 2017 in downtown Toronto. So you could see on your screens the map, and these blue dots represent the areas that we were focused on. So all sales, condominiums, we got it. Okay, then we analyze it. So guess what we found? Ready? Drum roll. $42,000. So all else being equal, if there are two condominiums in our data set, same square feet, same number of bedrooms, same number of washrooms, same types of quality and whatnot, same location, same height, same elevators, everything else is the same. The one with the locker on average would have a valuation of $40,000 or $42,000 more. But that's not the real question. Look at the screen. Look at the stuff in the lockers. Do you think that junk is worth $42,000? That is that material that you put in what people have in their lockers. Is it really worth $42,000? So again, and somebody says, what about parking? Well, I wouldn't be able to finish my 20 minutes if I try to give you all the answers. But yes, parking does matter. So anyhow, now, so far, I've given you quick answers, but actually, I want you to walk with me. I want you to walk with me on how do we do this? Like, how do we find these research questions? How do we answer these research questions? How do we do this valuation modeling? So, I've got a 5 to 10 minute walk through a research park planned with you. So here it goes. We want to know what is the impact of street level greenery on housing prices. So anecdotally, you as experts, you as professionals in the industry, you know that a street with lots of green trees and grass and that looks nice and it sells for more. It should have some valuation because the quality of the streetscape, people like greenery, people appreciate trees. So what is the value of trees? And I'm not talking about neighborhood parks. I'm not speaking about the backyard. How many trees do you have in the backyards? Because see, when you drive around in a street and you're checking out a neighborhood, you're making a mental image, mental map, an evaluation of the neighborhood, not based on what's in people's backyards. All you could see is their front yards. So we wanted to quantify we wanted to attach a dollar value to what green space is worth, right? So that's the question. So again, we relied on all sorts of literature that there's mental health benefits, there's psychological benefits. Trees absorb carbon dioxide, release oxygen. They're pretty to look at. Their physical health benefits. People feel nice. That's why you go to Muskokas, to be near nature. So all of this, we had lots of research that we read, and we said, it's not just real estate professionals saying that greenery matters and whatnot. In fact, psychologists, health experts, everybody believes it's pleasant to look at, your eyes feel good. So based on that, we wanted to know how much impact there is of greenery. Now, one way of doing it is to take measuring tapes and send students out and collect how much square feet of grass people have in front of their homes. Or if you know someone at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and see what they have done. So MIT people, they're smart people. You can trust on they can trust their smartness. They actually took Google data, Google Street View data, and then they applied smart algorithms to extract the green value index, how much greenery is in front of the house. And they were smart enough not to confuse a green facade from green leaves. So they were very intelligent algorithms. So MIT people were able to extract street level greenery, including the grass and the greenery on the trees for each neighborhood in the city of Toronto. So you could see on my map here, this is the data, this is the area that I'm showing you, and the whole area has a green value index of 19.5%. Now, what does that 19.5% means? What you see on your screen is 15% or GVI of 15. You could see that it's not very green. There is some greenery, but there's lots of pavement as well. Compare this 15 index to a 30 index. Now you see there are more trees, there's more foliage, looks a little better. So you could see that 15 and 30 are sort of different. So then we ask this question, what is the impact? And is there a temporal impact? So, during winter, when you buy a house, you don't see greenery. The trees the leaves have fallen off, the trees and the grass is covered with snow. So maybe people attach more value to greenery when they're buying in spring and summer. And they would attach less value to greenery during winter because you can't see it. The trees are bare and the streets are covered with snow. So that kind of thinking was in our minds. And we wanted to know, if there's a difference, like if you are in a condominium on the 31st or 52nd floor, you don't see street level greenery. So why should it matter to you? Or maybe it should matter to you because at the end of the day, you go out and start jogging and that nice neighborhood looks nice. So we know that the street level housing, people living in single detached, semi-detached townhouses, they would appreciate it because they can see it through their windows as well as they're walking around. So we wanted to differentiate our data. We wanted to differentiate or disaggregate our analysis by that. And then we wanted to see, other than housing prices, does it have any effect on days on market? Do homes on green streets or leafy streets sell faster than homes on sort of bare streets? and so on and so forth. So that's how, this is the process we take. So we moved forward with it. I'm mindful of time, so maybe sounding a bit hurried, but I want to give you the full story, and I don't want to take an extra minute. So I'm hoping that everybody's getting it. So this is the data. We got the data. We got like 40,000 condominiums, about 22,000 detached homes in our data sets, about 6,800 semi-detached, so on and so forth. And you could see this price distribution. Condos are cheaper, and then comes the condo townhouses, then comes the apartments, then comes the detached, semi-detached, and so on and so forth. You see how prices are distributed. There's not one price. There's not a range. There's a distribution of prices, and that's what we try to capture. And these are the sales between January 2016 in January 2018. And also, before I forget, this is actually a master's thesis some student completed at the institute that I direct. This is with their very hard work of 2 years. So I'm presenting actually research that was supervised by me, but was done by a graduate student of mine. So now, hypothesis. We believe higher the greenery, it should have, all else being equal, if there are two homes, let's say two single detached homes, they're identical, same number of bedrooms, same number of washrooms, same number of floors, finished basement, air conditioned, no problems with in terms same amount of square footage of the lot size, brick exterior for both, same amount of parking spaces, same number of fireplaces, all those attributes that you see in a listing. We had them, we controlled them. So we say all else being equal, everything that could have been measured about those two houses, we have measured. Now, would the house with more greenery sell for more? Because it has greenery, all else is the same. So with that mindset, we went in and we did the analysis. So guess what? Here's the result. First, we show you the results for detached homes. For 2017, the mean price was 1.4 million. And the premium that we recorded was about $39,000. So roughly, you could see as the green index increases, all else being equal, you see that you see a premium. So at an index of 20, you see about an 11% premium. So basically, $14,000 price increase for a $500,000 home. So if you have a house that's $500,000, if you take that home physically, lift it from a street with no greenery and put it on a street with greenery, you would have a $14,000 value added to that home. And for Toronto, let's say the average price for that year was about $1.41 million for a single detached home. The premium goes up to about $40,000. So it's not small. So, somebody said, Deep Singh is saying, go and plant some trees. Obviously, you should. I have another story about planting some flowers, but that's for another presentation. So what about semi-detached? Well, semi-detached, you can see if there's a $500,000 semi-detached, it would have a premium of about $63,000. But again, there are not really many semi-detached available for $500,000 in Toronto right now. So you could see that compared with the detached home, these dashed lines show you the confidence interval, right? It's a pretty tight confidence interval. But in semi-detached, you see that interval widens, which means that we believe that detached homes owners or buyers attach greater value to detached homes and greenery than to semi-detached. So then we looked at the townhouses, and we found that there's a greater impact, about $12,000 if there's an increase in greenery. And guess what? Condos also saw an impact, but the smallest impact, like if a $500,000 condo, higher greenery would add roughly $3,300. So our assumption that, if you're on the top 30th floor, you may attach less value than if you are in a condo townhouse in the street level. That came out to be true. The data supported our assumption. So that's where we were. So okay, fine. But that puzzle. Now here's a puzzle. We assumed that homes sold in winter, those homes should see relatively less premium added because of greenery, because the buyers couldn't see it. And then homes sold in spring and summer should see a higher premium. So guess what we found? Quite the opposite. Actually, we found that homes where, look at this screen at the bottom, you see snow and the same street with greenery, so two different time periods. It turns out that homes, when they were bought in winter, they sold for more than homes that were found in spring. This is 2017 data. So guess what happened there? If you remember April 2017, if you remember May 2017, and you remember the foreign home buyers tax, that exactly what happened is the prices were escalating very fast from January all the way up to April. Then the government of Ontario intervened and prices went down in May. So we failed to capture what we would have captured. So what's the lesson learned here? If we had not known about the foreign home buyers tax, we would have concluded wrong. But this is not that people don't appreciate Greenery. It's that there was an intervention much, much stronger than that. And same would happen, say, in January 2018, when the stress test was first introduced. So all these big interventions do change market valuations and influence those. Okay, so getting to the end. Other days on market, we didn't found a big impact of days on market, and so on and so forth. We saw that the sales to listing percentage was very small magnitude, but the bigger impact was very much on the price. So I'm going to skip this. I don't want to go into detail. I'm mindful of time. So what is our conclusion? Street level greenery in Toronto has a positive impact on property values. When you see your clients, you can tell them, plant some trees. Greenery matters. Maintain your front lawns, because that builds the mental model of valuation for buyers as they drive through the neighborhood. And we got proof for it. We can see that there's a premium of about 0.65% to about 2.8% for such things. And it could be obviously different if you have different market conditions. So in the end, what my message to you is, you have data, everyone has data. But without analytics, we are insights poor. So you put data, you add analytics to it, what you get? Insights. Now you have realtors. You add realtors, provide realtors with insights, they add value to their customers. You take your value add some good service to it, and what you have is happy customers. And that's where we want to be. We want to reach happy customers. We want to get there through data and analytics and insights. So that concludes it. I promise you that I'll be done in 25 minutes. I think I've been able to do it in 23. So this is good. I'm very interested in answering your questions. So here you go. We are looking at your comments, and I'm going to scan through it to see if I can answer something. But please put in your questions and we'll answer it. Will this deck be shared? Yes, absolutely. I'll provide it to Mustafa, and we can arrange it to be shared with those who are in attendance. I don't see any question coming in. Excellent. So I'm going to stop presenting. So I'm going to say we'll stop sharing here, and we go back, and here's a question. What's the data of people moving out of city? Oh, that's a good question. Well, if you look at the Statistics Canada's data, it turned out that minus immigration, and there were still 70,000 people who moved into Toronto, but if you exclude those in 2020, more people left Toronto, the Greater Toronto, to the outer suburbs than those who moved into Toronto from other parts of Canada. But it was because international immigration still was valid, and permanent or non-permanent workers who came and lived in Toronto in 2020, about 70,000 of those, that's why you had an increase. But once immigration resumes, which is the target about either at the end of this year or early next year, you would have about 300 to 400,000 people coming in. Of 1/3 of those would settle in the Greater Toronto. So there will be tremendous pent-up demand for starter homes, and you would see pressure, provided that we have vaccine, provided that we develop herd immunity until such point. Somebody says, where can you get access to this type of data? I think you have it. If you are a realtor, you should have this type of data. Is there enough data for recent east to west coast migration? Statistics Canada has very good databases. If you want to know more about it, you can write to me. You have my email address. I can provide you with the links. Is there a data on immigrants? Yeah, there's a very good data set that Statistics Canada started to assemble, it's not publicly available. I have to go to McMaster University to access that data, but this has data set of all homes, not just those who transacted, but every home that exists is available, and it identifies the owner, it identifies how much they make, their immigrant status, when they arrived in Canada, and so on and so forth. So that's a gold mine. But again, you need resources to sit there, spend weeks. But this is new data set. Thanks to Statistics Canada, it has become available. There's a question about how long after arriving in Canada. If you emailed me this question, I can answer this question from Census, which I have access to, and I'll be happy to advise you from there. So you can send me an email, my first name dot last name at zolo.ca, and I'll be delighted to help you. So, oh, there's a question. Is 15-minute city in Toronto? 15-minute city in Toronto, my favorite question. So I'm actually writing a report on this. It's slightly on the back burner right now, but I think there's I'm sort of critical about this. I think the 15-minute city is a privilege for those households that can actually live near transit or live near work. Basically, 15-minute city is a possibility for people who are either single, married, or married without children. So you throw children into the mix, the housing shelter needs increase to such an extent that you have to be away from work to a certain level. You drive until you can afford, and therefore that dream of 15-minute city goes away. Also, for people who are in the bottom quartile of income, 15-minute city is never going to be a possibility for them because they're priced out of those homes that are near the destinations, and the destination is work. So I have a slightly critical view of this. And yesterday I was attending a seminar at the Urban Land Institute, and this is a World Bank urban economist who also spoke with similar insights that it's not going to be a big thing, especially for cities that have already been made or built the way they are. Is there data on what is happening in the housing markets? I encourage you to go to National Post archives and see what we have written since March 15th. Since March 15th, I've written a column every week analyzing data on what has happened to real estate markets in Canada because of COVID-19. I'm thinking over the last 8 months, I would have about 30 to 35 columns strategically analyzing each and everything. For condominiums, if you are a condominium specialize in it, the Achilles heel is the elevator. There's no work around the elevator. If there's no vaccine, that elevator is going to be a big impact on valuations in the future. Okay, I think it's 2:29. If someone would tell me that my time is up, I think it is. It's been great talking to you. Please do write to me. It's murtaza.haider@zolo.ca, and I will respond to your questions. Send me questions for which you think answers should be there, and I will collaborate with my colleagues at Zolo, and we will provide those answers for you, because the mantra is that insights plus realtor is value add, and we are interested in adding value to what you provide to your customers and your clients. So thank you very much. It's been my privilege to speak with you, and I hope to stay in touch with you through emails and like. Thank you kindly.